What's up guys, Nashti here and welcome back to my channel. So if you've been following my previous vlog episodes where I'm ranking, the best smartphones per price segment, well, ito na yung continuation nun. So we started with, the best smartphones under 5,000 pesos and then we followed it with, the best smartphones from 5,001 to 10,000 pesos. So now, nandito na tayo sa talagang real mid-range segment. Pero since sobrang daming smartphones na naglalaban-laban dito sa segment na to, I'll just focus on the lower mid-range, which is yung 10,001 to 15,000 pesos. For this year alone, in the Philippines, more than 15 smartphones have been released dun lang sa price bracket na yon. So basically, it's still a lot. So I'm sure excited na din kayo malaman kung aling mga smartphones ito. Huwag na nating patagalin pa. Let's get down to business because it's about to get nasty.
Isang paalala, ang video na ito ay hindi katang-isip lamang. Ito ay pinag-isipan na talagang pinaghirapan. Kaya huwag kalimutang i-like at mag-subscribe sa aking YouTube channel. I-follow mo namin ako sa Facebook, Twitter at Instagram.
So before we start identifying the best smartphones on this lower mid-range segment, gusto ko lang sabihin na lahat ng smartphones na to ay obviously Android. Interesting things to take note of, madami sa mga features ng smartphones on this segment ay previously available lang sa mga flagship phones. So I'm talking about, AMOLED display, fast charging, water resistance, NFC, ultra-wide angle camera, at kung ano-ano pa. Since sobrang daming smartphones na naglalaban-laban sa segment na ito, it was quite hard for me to identify just 5. So I'm giving you at least 7. And on top of that 7, ibibigay ko pa yung mga alternatives na makukuha nyo dun sa mga brand ng smartphones na to. So again, baka umabot siya ng mga 10. But the good thing is, you'll have, more choices, more options to choose from. So, let's find out which smartphones I'm talking about.
Let's start off with the Huawei P30 Lite. It comes with a 6.15-inch IPS LCD of 1080p Full HD resolution. It runs Android 9 Pie with EMUI 9.1 on top. It is powered by an octa-core Kirin 710 processor with a whopping 128 gigs of expandable storage and 6 gigs of RAM. It has a triple camera setup with a 24-megapixel primary shooter, an 8-megapixel ultra-wide camera, and a 2-megapixel depth sensor. It also has a 32-megapixel selfie camera. Among its other features is 18 watts fast charging, 3.5mm jack, FM radio, and a fingerprint scanner. It retails for 13,990 pesos. What I like about the Huawei P30 Lite is its large storage capacity, its triple camera setup, and fast charging. Unfortunately, it has no LED notification light, it can't record 4K videos, it doesn't have a dedicated microSD card slot, and it has the smallest battery capacity of the bunch. If you're on a tighter budget, you can try the Huawei Y9 Prime for 11,990 pesos. It also comes with a triple camera setup and a pop-up selfie camera. However, it doesn't have an LED notification light, it cannot capture 4K videos, it doesn't have a dedicated microSD card slot, and it does not support fast charging. We have the Oppo F11, which comes with a large 6.53-inch IPS LCD of 1080p Full HD resolution. It runs Android 9 Pie with ColorOS 6 on top and is powered by an octa-core MediaTek Helio P70 processor. It has 64 gigs of expandable storage and 4 gigs of RAM. It has a dual camera setup with a 48 megapixel primary camera coupled with a 5 megapixel depth sensor. It also has a 16 megapixel selfie camera. Among its other features is 20 watts fast charging, a 3.5mm jack, an FM radio, a fingerprint scanner, and a micro USB 2.0 port with USB OTG. It retails for 11,990 pesos. What I like about the Oppo F11 is its 20-watt fast charging support. What I didn't like is the lack of LED notification light, no 4K video recording, the lack of a dedicated micro SD card slot, and its dated micro USB 2.0 port. Up next, we have the Realme 5 Pro, which comes with a 6.3-inch IPS LCD of 1080p Full HD resolution, and it's protected by Gorilla Glass 3. It runs Android 9 Pie with Color OS 6 on top and is powered by an octa-core Qualcomm Snapdragon 712 chipset. It has 128 gigs of expandable storage and 4 gigs of RAM. It has a quad camera setup with a 48 megapixel primary camera, an 8 megapixel ultra wide angle camera, a 2 megapixel macro shooter, and a 2 megapixel depth sensor. It's also capable of shooting 4K videos. It has a 16 megapixel selfie camera, and other features include 20 watts fast charging support, a 3.5mm jack, a fingerprint scanner, and splash resistance. It retails for 11,990 pesos. What I like about the Realme 5 Pro is its Gorilla Glass 3 protection, its splash resistance, its large storage capacity, its dedicated micro SD card slot, its quad camera setup, its 4K video recording capability, and its fast charging support. The only thing I didn't like is its lack of LED notification light. Coming through is the Redmi Note 8 Pro, which comes with a large 6.53-inch IPS LCD of 1080p Full HD resolution. It is protected by Gorilla Glass 5 and comes with HDR display technology. It runs Android 9 Pie with MIUI 10 on top and is powered by an octa-core MediaTek Helio 590T processor. It has 64 gigs of expandable storage and 6 gigs of RAM. It also has a quad camera setup with a 64 megapixel primary shooter, an 8 megapixel ultra wide angle camera, a 2 megapixel macro lens, and a 2 megapixel depth sensor. It's able to capture 4K videos too. It has a 20 megapixel selfie shooter as well. Among its features is an infrared port, NFC, a large 4500 mAh battery with 18 watts fast charging, a 3.5mm jack, an FM radio, a fingerprint scanner, and an LED notification light. It is estimated to retail between 11,000 and 13,000 pesos. What I like about the Redmi Note 8 Pro is its Gorilla Glass 5 protection, its HDR display technology, its quad camera setup with 4K video recording capabilities, its LED notification light, its infrared port and NFC, its large battery capacity with fast charging support. However, I wish it has a dedicated micro SD card slot. Another option from Xiaomi's camp is the Mi A3, which retails for 11,990 pesos. It comes with a Super AMOLED display with Gorilla Glass 5 protection. It is part of the Android One program with a large storage capacity. It has a triple camera setup with 4K video recording capabilities, an in-display fingerprint scanner, fast charging support, and an LED notification light. However, it's let down by its low-resolution display and its hybrid micro SD card slot. Moving on to Samsung's camp, we have the Galaxy A30, which comes with a 6.4-inch Super AMOLED display of 1080p Full HD resolution protected by Gorilla Glass 3. It runs Android 9 Pie with One UI on top and is powered by an octa-core Exynos 7904 chipset. It has 64 gigs of expandable storage and 4 gigs of RAM. It has a dual camera setup, a 16-megapixel primary camera with a 5-megapixel ultra-wide angle camera. It also has a 16-megapixel selfie camera. Among its other features is a 15 watts fast charging support, a 3.5mm jack, an FM radio, and a fingerprint scanner. It retails for 11,990 pesos. What I like about the Samsung Galaxy A30 is its Super AMOLED display, its Gorilla Glass 3 protection, its dedicated microSD card slot, and fast charging support. However, it doesn't have an LED notification light, it doesn't capture 4K videos, and it has a relatively weak GPU. Add 1,000 pesos more and you get the Samsung Galaxy A30s, which has a Super AMOLED display, a dedicated microSD card slot, a triple camera setup, an in-display fingerprint scanner, and fast charging support. However, the resolution gets downgraded. It also has no LED notification light, no 4K video recording, and a relatively weak GPU. Another smartphone on Samsung's camp is the Galaxy M30, which costs 500 pesos more than the Galaxy A30. It has a Super AMOLED display, a dedicated microSD card slot, a triple camera setup, a large battery capacity, and fast charging support. However, it also doesn't have an LED notification light, no 4K video recording, and a relatively weak GPU. Last but not the least, we have the Vivo V15, which comes with a 6.53-inch IPS LCD of 1080p Full HD resolution. It is also protected by Gorilla Glass 5. It runs Android 9 Pie with FunTouch OS 9 on top and is powered by an octa-core MediaTek Helio P70 chipset. It has 128 gigs of expandable storage and 6 gigs of RAM. It has a triple camera setup with a 12-megapixel primary shooter, an 8-megapixel ultra-wide angle camera, and a 5-megapixel depth sensor. It also has a 32-megapixel selfie camera. Among its other features is fast charging, a 3.5mm jack, FM radio, a fingerprint scanner, and it retails for 12,999 pesos. What I like about the Vivo V15 is its Gorilla Glass 5 protection, its large storage capacity, its dedicated microSD card slot, its triple camera setup, its pop-up selfie camera, and its fast charging support. What I didn't like is the lack of an LED notification light, the lack of 4K video recording, and its dated micro USB 2.0 port.
So sana guys, marami ulit kayong natutunan at nalaman dito sa vlog episode na ito. Again, I tried my best to, give you as much information as possible. You may or may not agree with, with the list that I've given you, especially with the inclusion of the Redmi Note 8 Pro, which has not yet been launched in the Philippines officially, but ilalabas na siya within this month. Yeah, sana madami kayong natutunan, and disclaimer lang, walang nagbayad sa akin sa kahit sino sa mga smartphone brands na ito, and I did this on my own. I researched on it, and gusto ko lang tulungan kayo makapag-decide kung alin yung best smartphone available on this segment. So thank you so much guys for tuning in. If you enjoyed watching this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing. Only here on the channel where Nashti is nice. I'm Nashti. Till then.